5 years ago, I had the privilege of working for a new state tourism bureau without any experience in tourism. And then I was told by my boss, since Joe talked about him just now, for those of you who were here for the first session, his boss is also my boss, that this is your KPI. You know, we'd like to see the numbers go up every year. And in 5 years to some tremendous number. But he gave me very little money, so how do you do that? Fortunately, in my second month as the head of the Tourism Bureau, I had the opportunity to attend, well, I was supposed to, somebody signed up for me. I attended the World Travel Mart in London, and I very luckily chose to attend one of the free seminars, and I chose one that was called Responsible Tourism because it sounded so new to me. I thought it was interesting. And then I heard this person from the culture department of Peru talk about Machu Picchu and how they were enjoying already 800,000 visitors to Machu Picchu and that they were going to target for the next year 600. So this is indirect contradiction to what my boss just said he wanted me to do. And true enough, I just found this a few days ago prior to putting them in my slide on the net. And that, look at the year, between 2009 and 2010, about 5 years ago I attended the World Travel Mart. The number dropped from 800,000, slightly more, to about 600,000. They did it. So this has inspired me. So I set myself 3 simple goals. I had to differentiate between tourist-friendly and touristy. Because as a tourist myself, I had been to several places. I really didn't want Penang to be touristy. I just wanted it tourist-friendly. And how do we set ourselves apart from so many other tourist destinations? And then this stayed in my mind throughout, of course. How are we different? We were once known as the Pearl of the Orient and known for our beaches and our clear water. It was a long time ago. When my father was a tourist guide from the 70s to the 80s, and that was my only connection with tourism until then, he specialized in bringing Japanese tourists around Penang. One of them here on the left is a tourist from Japan, and look at the t-shirt she was wearing. And the coconut tree, and it says Pearl of the Orient. Her bag is blocking it a bit. But one of the things that my father used to do when he was taking a small group of people in that green BMW of his, which he called a limousine back then, he would always bring them home. Sometimes just for a cup of tea, most of the time for between 15 to 20 minutes. And I guess that stayed with me. I never understood then why he did it. He was just doing a very mundane thing, besides taking them to the Fort Cornwallis or Penang Hill or such. So then, in the year 2008, Georgetown, the city in Penang, was inscribed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So that's like a gift to us, because as a beach resort, we were no longer competitive. Well, you know how popular your Phuket is. In 1986, as a student, I went to Koh Samui. So these islands, other islands in Malaysia as well, Redang, Kota Kinabalu, those places with clearer waters, are now ahead of us. So we need to rebrand. The outstanding universal values that Georgetown was inscribed for were architecture, the diverse religions that we have and the places of worship, and tangible as well as intangible heritage, which is our living culture. I'm so glad that Kun Somsak just now spoke before me, so you all have a pretty good idea what that means in terms of intangible heritage and how to engage visitors with the locals. And the funny thing is, I grew up in the inner city, right in Georgetown until I was 14 and couldn't wait to leave the place. And like Kun Somsak, I learned to rediscover my own birthplace. Now it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And still there were some complaints that there isn't enough to do in the city. The inscribed zone, the heritage zone, is 250 hectares large. So what do we do with it if people are still saying there isn't enough to do? Of course, we're not going to put mini Disneylands in it. And the idea is to engage with the locals. I started to create little things. This one is called the last Friday, Saturday, Sunday of the month. Now that's because we leverage on an event which is called the Little Penang Street Market. So from that, we put in something on Saturday. On Sunday, next to the Little Penang Street Market, we organized even cemetery tours. Apart from events, physical events, we could even turn the king of fruit to a king of tours. And then we tell tourists the difference between Thai durians and Malaysian durians. I understand you pluck yours. Ours lay on hammocks. In other words, we have to wait for them to drop when they ripen. They don't ripen outside of the tree. And then suddenly, this place that I wanted so badly to leave, because Georgetown spelled poverty back in those days because of rent control. But now suddenly, raw is so hip. So hip that now old buildings are being converted to cafes and boutique hotels and attracting more and more people. It even has attracted Datuk Jimmy Choo back to his birthplace. Yes, Jimmy Choo is from Penang. Then it attracted artists such as Ernest Zakarevic, who started the street art. And lots of people now are visiting Georgetown. I have been asked this, what's going to happen after street art fad? But I'm such an optimist that once you have a place that attracts creative people, I'm sure after this fad with street art, we'll have something new. Spaces, places start then to be used for creative events. This one is for sketches from all over the place. And there were, in this particular picture, quite a number of them from Phuket. And then our boss, again the Chief Minister, wanted us to have more events. And this one in particular is the Georgetown Literary Festival, which we started 4 years ago. And we chose to put it again in an edgy place, in this place called Sekeping, Victoria, to really rave reviews. Lots of people come, not just compliment us on the festival, but more on the spaces. This is what it looks like when it's empty. And then we created a trail based on a book called The Gift of Rain. Why? The Gift of Rain was written by an author from Penang, Tan Tuan Eng. And his book was shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize. Eventually, for his second book, he actually won the Asian Man Booker Prize. So we wanted to feature not just the book, but the places there, but through a different experience. So you're actually experiencing a book as well as experiencing the place. So then we started to communicate this uniqueness quite a bit. One of our biggest campaigns was in Singapore when we started to have a little bit more funds to do this. So we put these up, the Penang experience. We called it My Penang, my something anyway. So you have My Barbershop, My Songkok Maker. And they were big at the Dhoby Ghat MRT station. Then we continued the next year. We went a little bit more edgy. We featured the Georgetown Festival, other festivals as well, but based on the people who are behind the festivals or involved in the festivals. So there you see, we have the artist, the videographer, and their posters up in the station. And on the left, we featured kids, just ordinary kids, and what their aspirations are. Now let's look at what other people are saying. So it's not just about us blowing our own trumpet. But I think that's the first time somebody calls your place decrepit, and it's a compliment. And lots of new articles were emerging, complimenting Georgetown. It's an island for the arts. I mean, amazing accolades. Modern heritage, modern but heritage in Penang. Plus the fact that in the year 2011, Yahoo Travel said that Penang is one of the islands that you must visit before you die. So these are all just amazing accolades, and that gave us more confidence to develop this kind of tourism. Hong Kong featured us in 31 pages for wedding photography, because hip, edgy is photogenic as well. This guidebook on Penang in Japanese, 128 pages of them. About 120 pages are all only on Georgetown, with hardly anything on the beaches. So we've done the transformation, you may say. So this year we got bolder, featured the Georgetown Festival again, but we've gone further than Singapore. We've gone to Hong Kong. That's also partly because in recent months, a very popular TV series was almost entirely filmed in Georgetown, and that has created a lot of interest as well. And that has all brought us then to branding Penang, to discover our stories, discover the heritage, indulge in our very famous street food, indulge in the relaxation, and just indulge in a very slow pace of life, and explore all the greenery that we have there. We actually have the smallest national park in the world, so why not explore the island as well? Now, in all this connection with creative cities of Chiang Mai now, and I started to do some research and found that researchers, such as one, he's popular, his name is Greg Richards, and he also is a co-founder of something that's called the International Creative Tourism Associates. So I started to read his papers, and there are 3 forms of creativity, he calls them: creative places, creative events, and creative tourism. In which, in terms of creative tourism, again, my previous speaker here, Kun Somsak, has mentioned it. It's where people interact and they actually learn something. So the future trends in relationship of creativity and tourism. Now, people will travel not just to know and relate to places, but they might also want to help them. So you might want to keep this in mind. Focus on attracting and retaining creative people who are seen as necessary for a healthy economy. Studies on the economics impact of creative forms of tourism. So this is all for the future. And why am I saying this? The irony is, in 4 days' time, I will no longer be the managing director of Penang Global Tourism. I'll be doing something on my own, but I think I've gone through the 3 pillars that I use to brand Penang myself. I've discovered the truth in one of the most popular quotes of Richard Branson, which is that if you're given an amazing opportunity to do something and you're not sure whether you can do it, say yes. Figure out how to do it later on. Second, indulge. I've had the opportunity to, it's a privilege, to indulge in my own passion for the arts and culture by injecting it in my work in promoting tourism in Penang. And certainly to explore, now I'm still exploring. And this is one thing that I will explore now, which is how to help my community develop this creative tourism further, perhaps just as how Kun Somsak has done in the social context, because TEDxChiangMai, you have inspired me. Thank you.